Hello, my name is Ashley Fulbright. Today I'm going to talk to you about fraction division using the measurement method. I'm going to illustrate some easy ways to work through fraction division. For our first problem, we have Sally needs 1/2 cup of flour for her recipe. She needs to divide that into 3 different recipes. How much flour is needed for each recipe? To show that in a number sentence, it would look like this. 1/2 divided by 3 is equal to 1/6. So how I got 1/6 was I inverted and multiplied, because that's just the simplest way for me to do it. So I started with 1/2 divided by 3 is equal, and then I like to put the whole number into a fraction, so you have two easy fractions to work with. So it changes to 1/2 divided by 3 over 1. And then when you invert and multiply, it changes it, and so you end up with 1/2 times 1/3. So you multiply 1 times 1 is equal to 1, and 2 times 3 is equal to 6. So 1/6 cup of sugar for each recipe. To show that in an illustration, it would look like this. 1/2 cup of flour, and you have 1/2 cup of flour, and you want to divide that evenly between 3 different recipes. So it looks like this. You have 1/3 of a 1/2 cup here, 1/3 of a 1/2 cup here, and 1/3 of a 1/2 cup here. So it equals 1/6 cup of flour for each recipe. To show that with pattern blocks, it would look like this. 1 whole cup is here. So you start out with a 1/2 cup of flour, which is right there. And then you take 1/3 of that 1/2 cup of flour. So there's that 1/3 is that blue piece. And then you have that little red piece left over. So it's 1/6 of a cup of flour for each recipe is what you're left with. For our second problem, we have Mike has 2 pounds of beef, and it needs to be divided into sections that are 1/3 pound each. How many sections are there altogether? So in a number sentence, it would look like this. 2 divided by 1/3 is equal to 6. So to figure out the answer to this, I did the same thing. I inverted and multiplied. So I started with 2 divided by 1/3 is equal, and then I put the 2 into a fraction, so I put 2 over 1 divided by 1/3. So when you invert and multiply, that changes it to 2 over 1 times 3 over 1. So 2 times 3 is equal to 6, and 1 times 1 is equal to 1. And you know that with a fraction, if any number that is over 1 is just the number. So it's equal to 6 different groups of 1/3 pound of beef in each group. So to show that in an illustration, it would look like this. You start with 2 pounds of ground beef, and you want to break those into sections of 1/3 pound. So you take 1/3 pound, 1/3 pound, 1/3 pound, and 1/3 pound 6 times. So you have 6 groups of 1/3 pound ground beef. To show that with an illustration, with pattern blocks, it would look like this. 2 whole pounds of ground beef is what you start out with. And then you want to break those into thirds. So you know that one of these blue pattern blocks is a third. So you fill up the 2 whole pounds with the thirds, and there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 6 1/3 in the 2 whole pounds. So it's 6 sections of 1/3 pounds beef. For our third problem, we have Susie made a cherry pie. She ate half of the pie at dinner. Then she wanted to cut pieces that were going to be 1/3 of the whole pie. How many pieces did she end up with? So in a number sentence, that would look like this. 1/2 divided by 1/3 is equal to 3/2, or 1 1/2. To solve this problem, I inverted and multiplied again. And since they're both fractions already, you don't need to make any of them fractions. So I just did 1/2 divided by 1/3. And then to invert and multiply, it ends up being 1/2 times 3/1. So 1 times 3 is 3, and 2 times 1 is 2. So you end up with 3/2, or 1 1/2. To show this in an illustration for a better look, it would look like this. You start with one whole pie, so there's your whole pie, and she eats half of it, and then she wants to break it up into sections of 1/3 of the whole pie. So you end up with 1 1/2 pieces of pie left over. To get a better look at this even more, with the pattern blocks, it would look like this. One whole pie is what you start out with, and she ate half of it, so that's what that red is. She only has half of that left, and then she wants to take half of that, or she wants to cut 1/3 pieces that are going to be 1/3 of the whole pie. So there's 1/3 right there, and then there's the other third where it's only going to be half of the pie, or half of the piece, half of a whole. So you end up with 1 1/2 pieces of pie left over. So this has been my illustrations on making a few fraction division problems maybe a little bit simpler. So I hope this helped, and thanks for watching.